Welcome to Art, my most amazing art students. My name is Mrs. Hooper, that's Hooper with an H, and I am going to be your art teacher again this year. I am so excited to see all of you again this year, and I'm super excited to see any new folks that have joined us this year. So before we can get started making really cool art projects, we need to go over a few rules, a few procedures, and kind of look at where things are in the classroom so that we can dive right into making amazing art. I can't wait for you guys to see what we're gonna do. Welcome to the Clyde Art Room. When you first arrive in art, you're going to line up outside the door and wait for me to invite you in. Don't forget to check out the featured artist wall here to see some different artists. When I invite you in, you may open the door and come have a seat on the carpet. So you're gonna walk all the way over here and have a seat on the carpet. If there's no more space on the carpet, you can sit behind the carpet. So when Mrs. Hooper's talking, you guys are at a volume level 0. That means no talking. If I say that it's your turn to talk and I call on you, you may talk in a normal voice. However, I only want one person talking at a time unless you're working independently at your tables. When you're working at your tables, you want to be at a table talk. So that's a little quieter than if you're talking to the whole class. When it's time to go to your tables, because I finished my directions, you're going to go to your assigned seat. All the tables are labeled by color. Right here's the orange table. If you're sitting in this seat right over here, your closest number is number 1, so you're number 1. Your numbers all match up for a job. You see the art job board above the sink in the back of the classroom. Your number will tell you what job you're going to be doing this year. So if you're number 1, you're supply master. That means you're in charge of getting out and putting away all the supplies. If you're number 2, you're in charge of table folders and the drawing rack. Table folders I'll leave out on the back counter, so you'll be in charge of coming and getting your table folder and bringing it over to your table. Also, you're in charge of putting your table folder back inside the classroom folder, which again, you'll find right here on the back counter. Also, if you have wet projects, we do not put wet projects inside our table folders. So you'll be putting it over here on the drawing rack. This big black drawing rack works where we start at the very bottom. So you'll put your project on the very bottom shelf. Once the whole shelf is filled up, then we can pull down the shelf and fill up the next shelf. If you're number 3, you are the noise monitor. We just talked about volume levels in the classroom. You're in charge of making sure that your table stays quiet and doesn't get too loud. So you're supposed to remind them if they get too loud to keep their volume down. Sometimes I give out rewards to the quietest table. If you're number 4, you're the table tidier. Not always be washing the tables. If we just use colored pencils, there's no need to wash the tables. If it is your job to wash the tables, you're going to come over to the sink, find a sponge in the drying rack, turn on the water, get your sponge wet, turn off the water. You got to make sure, this step's super important, squeeze your sponge in the sink. Did I just squeeze my sponge out on the table? No, I squeezed it in the sink. Then with my just damp but not drippy wet sponge, I'm going to take it over to my table and I'm going to wipe my table off. Now to save time, you only really have to wipe the spots that are dirty. If a spot is still clean, you don't really have to wipe it. If it's too shiny, get a paper towel, dry it off. And make sure you bring your sponge back to the drying rack. If you finish your project early, you've shown your project to Mrs. Hooper. Mrs. Hooper has said, yes, you are done. You may put it on the drawing rack. Then, if there's still time left, you may come to the Free Choice Center. So at the Free Choice Center, you'll find a bunch of different options with fancy new signs I just made. But remember, anything you get out, you have to put away just as neat or if not neater than how you found it. We have a few rules in the art room. Together, all the rules spell the word artist. The very first rule is act responsible. I expect you guys to make good choices during class. And the next rule is R for respectful. It's super important for you to be respectful to me, the teacher, to your classmates, to yourself, and to the art supplies and art studio. The next rule is try your best. I want your best work on every project. I also want you to be imaginative. That means to use your brain, your imagination, your creativity to show me something that's unique and different from everybody else's project. The next rule is to stay seated. It gets crazy in here if everybody's up running around. So if you can stay in your seat and raise your hand if you have a question, that would be awesome. Also, it's important, like we talked about already, to talk quietly. It can get super loud in here. I do let you guys talk while we work, but you want to make sure you're respectful of all your classmates and talk quietly. If you're having a hard time making good choices during art class, right under my classroom rules, I have the warning board. The very first board is the green section. I'm going to have you take a dry erase marker and write your name on this board if you're making a not so good choice. Then you can go back to your seat and continue your activity. If you're still making not so great choices after that, I'm going to send you over to the yellow board. That's the cool down board. You write your name up here with a dry erase marker. Then you're going to head on over back to the front of the room and have a seat on the carpet to just kind of relax and cool down and maybe think about what was going on. And then I'll come talk to you and you can go back to working. However, if we're still making some bad choices, you'll end up on the red board and I will have to send a note home to your parents telling them what's going on in art class. But I expect all of you guys to be superheroes in art class with listening ears, quiet mouths, eyes looking at the teacher, still feet, and still hands, unless you're drawing, of course. Now, if you are being an extra superstar in art class, I'm gonna give you one of these. These are the art dollars. What you're gonna do, if you get an art dollars, you're gonna write your name on the back. Now remember, you're getting an art dollar because you're doing something extra awesome. I expect all of you guys to follow the rules all of the time, but this is when you're doing extra above and beyond what's expected. So you write your name on the back of your art dollar and then you come over here and find the pocket that matches up with your teacher's name. So if you're in Mrs. Best's second grade class, you put your art dollar with your name on it in that pocket. When we get to the art party, I will pass back the art dollars and you can go shopping at the art dollar store. Speaking of art party, you might be wondering, how do we earn an art party? I don't remember. Well, over here, I've moved it by the door. Over here we have the art party game. Each class has a little game piece, like Miss Spurrier's class. Each piece can move up to 3 spaces during a class period. We all start here and you can move along. When you get all the way to the end, you land on the art party. Now, when we have an art party, we have to wait till we finish our current project before we can take a break and have the art party. So after you earn it, it might be a couple weeks before you get to have it, but I will keep track of who has earned the art party. But you might be wondering, how do we earn these spaces to move along the art party? Well, let me tell you. You can earn up to 3 spaces per class period. You start by having all your spaces, and those spaces are represented by paintbrushes. So you start out with all 3 paintbrushes, but you can lose them during class. So you get to move 1 space for listening and being respectful. It's super important that you're not talking while I'm talking, because then you're gonna miss an important direction. We gotta be respectful of your classmates. Even if you know what to do, you still gotta be quiet because the person next to you may not know. All right, the next space is for cleaning up. We have to do a really good job cleaning up. Not just good job cleaning, but you have to start cleaning when I ask. I know it's so hard to stop making art, but it's really important so that we can let the next class in that we clean up on time. And the last space is for working quietly. Remember, one of our art rules is being respectful, and it's not respectful of your classmates if you're getting too loud, because it's actually hard to focus on making art when it's super loud and noisy around you. So let's work quietly to be respectful and earn another point. And finally, I want to talk about what I'm going to do when I need your attention, because there's oftentimes in art class we're in the middle of working, but I haven't told you what the next step is, so I need to get all your attention so I can tell you what the next step is. So when I really need you guys to put everything down, stop working, and totally focus on me, I'm gonna say, hands on top, and I'll put my hands on your head. You guys will put both your hands on your head, and then you get to say, everybody stop. Now, please don't shout everybody stop, because remember, that goes against our working quietly rule. So I say hands on top, and you say everybody stop. All right, now sometimes I just need you to hear what I'm saying, but it's okay if you still have supplies in your hand. So in that case, I will say class, class, and you will respond yes, yes. After you respond, yes, yes, don't go back to talking. I don't say that unless I need to tell you something. So listen really carefully to what I'm saying, but you can still have your scissors or paintbrush in your hands. I am so excited to be creating art with you guys this year, because each one of you is amazing, incredible artists. And we're all going to work really hard together to learn and grow, because I know all of you are capable of growing and advancing in your art skill no matter what level you're on. So I can't wait for our next project.